Hey, I'm Eric Recker, the author of That Damn Analogy. And happiness to me is living in the present moment and winning the now.
Ooh, living in the present and winning the now. What does that mean, Eric? Let's break that out a little more.
Yeah, so I think as a society, as a people, that we are stuck in one of two places. We are either stuck in the past or we are worried about the future. And
Hmm.
we are in one of those two places. We miss out on the one thing that is guaranteed in our life. And that's the now. That's the moment right in front of us. And so when we're in either of those two places, that's when we're having a conversation with somebody and our mind is not comprehending anything that they're talking about. It's when we're around the dinner table trying to have a meal with our family and we're thinking about what happened at work earlier today or what happened the previous day or that thing we have going on tomorrow. And it robs us of the beauty of that present moment and all the experiences that we can have in that moment.
Ooh. Ooh, I like that. I like that. Win the now. That's something we all want to do. Now that you explain it, for sure, man. So your book, you sent me a PDF early copy. That damn analogy, fantastic. Going to be out on April 12th on Amazon. So, but it's DAM, not
Yes.
DAMN. So tell me about that. Why is it that damn analogy?
Well, I like to do things that catch people's eye. So win the now, people will say, what's that all about? That damn analogy. Oh, what does that mean? Isn't there supposed to be an N in there? What is going on? Well, going way back when I was heavy in the season of competing in triathlon and doing all these crazy things, I was riding my bike across a dam in our hometown that's about a mile away from my house. And I got this, when you get that feeling like right in your gut that says you just get a word picture. And for me, I heard "We are the dam," and I thought, well, that's weird. Am I dehydrated? Is my blood sugar low? What am I thinking about here? But really, over time, what I've learned is it's true. We are the dam. And all that we are really doing, our role in life is to control the flow of energy that goes through us. That's all we're doing. So we have energy that comes in and we have energy that goes out. The reality is we are really good at the outflow part. We will outflow ourselves to death, but we suck at the inflow part. We're not very good at it. We're not good at taking care of ourselves. We're not good at filling our tanks so we have something to give away. So that is the basic premise of the book. And then we go into a whole bunch of strategies of how to fill up, how to decide which things that we're doing serve our purpose, and how we can find a better balance between inflow and outflow.
Awesome. Awesome. I like that. I think that makes so much sense, right? We do give and give and give and give, but we often don't take and replenish. So with that, I called the episode on burning out and bouncing back better. So how did you know that you were burnt out? When did that happen?
Yeah, so I like to equate it to the frog that was ended up in the kettle on the stove, and they turned the heat up, and it didn't even know until it was boiling, and then it was too late. Well, it almost got too late for me. I got to the point where I was having chest pain, I was having heart palpitations, and I was even having panic attacks. And I found myself in a season where, and I'm a dentist by trade, so I found myself in a season where I was buying my dental practice. I was building a new dental clinic. I was training for 2 Ironman triathlons. I was on 5 boards and I was coaching my kids in soccer. Can't imagine that would be a problem, would you? And I was trying to lead a team of 15 in a very busy practice, and all these things were coming together, and I was just in a bad place. I was doing all of these things, but my life was gray. I wasn't finding any enjoyment in anything. I didn't really notice things. I didn't experience things. I call it a slog. I was just trudging through life trying to get to the next day. And it was a really bad place. And I know that had I not gotten a hold of that and gotten that figured out, there was going to be a point where my health was going to pay for that. and I was going to end up with a heart attack or a stroke or some stress related issue, even though I was in really great shape. And I just knew that something had to change.
Wow. Wow. So was there something that tipped that, Eric? Was it the chest pain or was it just a combination of everything?
Yeah. So I'm a slow learner. So it was, I don't know about you, Phil, but I can
Yeah,
be a slow learner. So
same.
I did not catch the message that time. I put several Band-Aids on it. So I'm that kind of person that can get a little bit of glimpse of hope, and then I chase that hope really, really hard. And so there were a couple of glimpses of hope, but it wasn't really enough to get me through it. Then after COVID, man, COVID was absolutely miserable in our world. Our offices were closed. We had to learn a gazillion new things. Came back in hazmat suits basically as we were treating patients, and it was a really tough way to live. The burnout came back with a vengeance. And I actually had decided that the only solution was for me to sell my dental practice and walk away. I didn't have a freaking clue what I was going to do when I walked away, but I knew that I needed to escape. I knew I couldn't keep doing this. And so I had made and started to make plans with my associate to buy my dental practice. And then I was going to stay on for a period of time, and then I was going to be done. Well, our practice broker was going to come and meet with us in February. January 18 of 2021 on Monday morning, which has always been kind of ground zero for me. I don't love Monday mornings. In all my past, imposter syndrome and all that kind of stuff would crescendo on Monday mornings after a terrible night of sleep on Sunday nights. It got to be time for our morning huddle, and we were all standing there getting ready to talk. And I said, "Where's he at?" And his assistant said, "Well, I haven't heard from him." And called him, no answer. Called his wife, no answer. And the next thing we heard police sirens. And so he had been in a horrific car accident less than a mile away from work. And in that moment, I had all my plans that I was going to sell and walk away, and life was going to look different. It's going to be great, I thought, and all of that. And all of a sudden, all of that was off the table. He survived the car crash miraculously, but it was clear that that was not going to be the path going forward. So a 3-doctor practice all of a sudden became a 2-doctor practice, and somebody who was incredibly burned out had to take on more work. I learned a new level of capacity in that season, Phil. And I don't know about you, but when you're at max capacity, you do not want to learn that there's another gear.
Mm-mm.
And so through that, I had to step back and say, okay, what do I really want to do? What do I really want with this? So I ended up getting a partner in my dental practice. So now I own half of my dental practice. And he knew from the beginning that I had some other things that I wanted to do. I knew that this burnout story that I had and the lessons I learned from it were so important to share with other people that I knew at the end of my life, if I was on my deathbed and I hadn't shared this, I would have a massive regret. So I told him, here's what I want to do. I want to see patients 3 days a week, and I want to tell this story and help people the other 2 days of the week. And so that's where I'm at right now. And I've been doing that for about 2 years now. And it's fantastic. I love it.
Wow. Wow. That's quite an inflection point there in the business and in life. Man, somebody gets in a car accident when you're expecting, I guess, to kind of back it down, and then you gear up even more. My gosh, man, that's quite a mountain. So I gotta ask, are you married, got a partner? How did that play out?
Yeah. So it was interesting. I put an ad in the paper and said, hey, I need an associate who's going to want to buy in. And I got 2 responses. And I put it in multiple states even. I put it in the surrounding area, and I got 2 responses. One person really just needed a mentor, somebody to help talk them through a situation they were in. And then the other one was now my partner, Jeff. And he was practicing in another town, and he had always wanted to come to my hometown. And he said, but hey, here's the thing. if I'm going to burn the ships and leave my practice that's going just fine and come to your practice, then I want to be equal partner from day one. Oh man, my practice consultant said, no way, no way. You got to have a honeymoon period. You guys got to date and court a little bit before we get to this. And I said, hey, Matt, here's the thing. If it doesn't work out, I'm gonna sell it to him and leave anyway. He's like, I think you're crazy. I think you're crazy. And in some senses, I was crazy, but I needed a change. I could not keep going the way it was. And honestly, by the grace of God, I'm so thankful. It's going so well. We're a great partnership. We support each other. We both have our own strengths in the office, and it's really created this situation where I can do both of the things that I love. The seeing patients and the relationships that I have because I've seen patients for so long, and I get to do this other stuff as well and make an impact. And it's so fun. It's such a blessing, and I can't wait to see what the next chapter brings.
Wow. Wow. So you hit that wall, completely burned out. Now you've got a partner that's helping you bounce back even better. So what are some of the things now that you do to make sure that you don't exceed your capacity or actually don't even get close?
Yeah, this is perfect timing for you to ask that question because I have this other book coming out. It's coming out April 12. I'm hosting an event that same day on April 12th. So we're going to have an event during the day and then book launch at the night in the evening. And so here's the thing. I way overshot the last few weeks. I way overshot. I could feel the heart palpitations just a little bit. I could feel that the walls were closing in, and I just had to step back, and I recommitted to 15 minutes of quiet in the morning. And that's just it doesn't seem like it's that complicated of a habit, but just 15 minutes in the morning to be quiet and just breathe and center myself for the day. Because the reality is we have to be selfish so that we can be selfless. We have to be. We have to do things to fill us up so that we have something to give. And I was pouring everything I had into the book, working with my publisher. She messages me, big project has to be done by tomorrow. And it's just how it's been for the last little bit of a season. And it's fine. And I'm going to look back on the season and realize once again, hey, Eric, you can do hard things. But I'm trying to also, in the midst of that, go back to some of those systems and habits that help me recharge. Because if I'm empty when April 12th comes and I have that event and I have a room full of people, that's going to be a problem. So what are some things I can do between now and then? And I had a bunch of stuff I was hoping to do tomorrow. And instead of that, I'm going to make today a really big day. And then my son's coming over and we're going to watch basketball tomorrow because that is refilling for both of us. So it's just looking at life and trying to figure out in the moments that we have, how can we work on filling ourselves back up so we have as much to give as possible?
Awesome. That is awesome. Well, tell us more about some of the strategies and tactics that you use to make sure you that you kind of stay present and win the now. You mentioned 5 minutes of quiet time, and you mentioned basketball. So what else are you doing, Eric, to make sure that between now and April 12th, which is only 3 weeks, man, how are you doing this? How are you making sure? And we've got Yvonne DeVita here who's sharing here. She's loving the fact that you made that right decision. So tell us a little bit about some of those strategies and tactics so that we can take those away too.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think is really killing us is our relationship with our phones. And so phones are one of the biggest presence killers. I mean, you go to a restaurant and you see a family and they're all on their phones and they are missing a golden opportunity to connect, to actually have one of those 5 senses experiences. Those are my favorite. When we can be in the present moment and we can experience something with all 5 senses. And I feel bad when everybody's on their phones because they're missing out on this opportunity. So for me, I need a guardrail on my phone, or else I will be on it a lot. I really do. So my guardrail is just a simple question: why am I picking this up? Because I think what we do with our phones is we use them as a digital pacifier. We get a little uncomfortable. We don't want to face something we're dealing with or an emotion that we're feeling. So we pick up our phones and zone out. So I just love to ask myself that question when it's on in my pocket or it's on the counter in front of me. Am I just picking this up to waste some time, or am I picking this up because I'm intentionally going to look at something? So that's one thing. Another thing for me is I find myself drifting in my mind all the time. I have a busy mind. I'm always thinking of things. But when I'm in a moment that I really want to be in that moment, I use a recentering phrase. And that recentering phrase, and I just say it quietly to myself: I am here, right now. Because this is where the magic happens. Phil, right now, us having this conversation, this is where the magic happens. And if I'm somewhere else, if I'm thinking about my meetings later today or the meeting I just got done with before this, then that's no value to the people who are listening to this. We're not helping other people on their journey. And I am all about helping other people on their journey. That's what I want. That's what I want to do. And so some of the things that we have to do when we're together with, I see that Yvonne just asked a question about kids are connected to their phones like crazy. How can parents say this is a no phone time? I think it's easy for one generation to say to the next generation, "Oh, I can't believe how addicted you are to your phones." You know what? If we would have grown up with phones from day one, we'd be just as addicted as they were. So what we have to do is try to find compromise. We have to try to find pockets of time where we can say, okay, guys, at the dinner table, we're not having phones. Or, hey, we're gonna play a game for a half hour. We're gonna play Uno, or we're gonna play something like that. And we're just gonna put the phones down for that time so we can be totally present in there. To ask somebody to be off their phone for a whole day, if they're not used to that, boy, that's going to be the most anxious day they've ever had in their life. But if we can find small pockets of time where we say, okay, I'm going to put the phone down, I'm going to be in the moment for a half hour or an hour or 2 hours, we will see tremendous benefits from that if we work up to it.
Yeah, I think it's key that we have small pockets and that we also make sure that there's something that's equally interesting that they can do. I mean, I know as adults we're okay with boredom, but kids need stuff to fill their time and their brain and need to do that. And I've found that's the case with my 8-year-old, especially, where he gets really, really anxious and really, really like, I don't know what to do if he doesn't have his iPad. I mean, he wakes up, that's the first thing he does. And so we have to make sure that we have that. So I think that's beautiful ideas. Give us one more good strategy, Eric, that we can take. You shared the guardrail on the phone. You shared your recentering phrase. Give me one more that maybe people can use.
This is one of my favorite ones. I think we need to scale our recovery. What do I mean by that? I love to go to Utah. That's one of my favorite places. Got the license plate right there behind me. I love to go to Utah. I love to go to Park City specifically. And whether it's in the winter or whether it's in the summer, whatever we're doing out there, a week out there is amazing to me. And that is bucket filling like crazy. But that's not something I can do all the time. I can do that a couple times a year. So, okay, maybe I don't have a week. Okay, maybe I have a weekend. Okay, what can I do in a weekend? Can my wife and I go away somewhere for a weekend? Can we visit some friends or have people over? Maybe I don't have a weekend. Maybe I just have a day. Okay, what would a bucket filling day look like? I have a goal this year to have an entire day of quiet. That's just something that I want to do. I need to get it on the calendar, but that is something that I want to do. I want to have one day of complete quiet. So it's going to be reading, journaling, quiet, prayer, different stuff like that. I'm just going to have a day like that. Well, maybe we don't even have a day. What does it look like if we have 2 hours? What is something we can do in those 2 hours to fill our bucket? What is something we can do in a half hour? Maybe we only have 5 minutes in between things. Instead of just picking up our phone, what if we just close our eyes and breathe at our desk? What if we take a walk around the block? What if the next time we're at a traffic light, we don't pick up our phone and we just look around? Oh, there's another car. Look at the color of the sky. Take 3 deep breaths. So I'm always looking at for ways that I can recover. So we think those big things are the things that are really going to refill us, but we can do that very little. We have to be thinking, what are the smaller things we can do to efficiently recover many times throughout the day and throughout the week?
Such good advice, and things that I need to work on myself too. So one of the things that we connected on our pre-call though is a mutual love of bourbon. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I think moderation is really key. We don't want to get hammered or anything like that. So let's talk about bourbon, Eric. How did you find your love of bourbon?
Yeah, so one thing that I found is that I am a relationship person. That's life for me. I do not want a life without relationships. So when we lived in a neighborhood that there were 7 other families there, and we all got really close, and our kids grew up together, and we spent a lot of time together. And a lot of times that we would get together, we would have a couple beverages, and we would just share life and talk and play games and be around the pool and do all those kind of things. So when my wife and I remodeled our house that we moved into, I wanted to have a bourbon bar that was kind of like a speakeasy. And so it's got penny tile on the floor. It's got pocket doors that close, so it can be kind of a really small space. And I have found that the level of relationship that we get to when we share a pour of bourbon is amazing. Walls come down, people are open to share. And I'm not talking about having 6 pours. I'm talking about having a pour or 2 and trying the flavor, talking about the flavor, the profile, the story around getting the bottle, all of that kind of stuff. And we get to this level where we can talk about the things that we're afraid of. We can talk about the things that keep us up at night. We can celebrate the wins in our lives. We can have genuine, authentic conversation and genuine relationship. And to me, that's the draw. So if you take the relationship piece away from it, you might as well take the bourbon away from it too. So to me, what it really is, I enjoy it, but it's a gateway to great relationships.
Awesome. I feel the same way, which is why all my bourbon right now is just sitting by itself, because I don't know enough people here in Ohio yet for bourbon. But now and then I'll walk down to the neighbor's house and we'll watch the kids play, and then we'll have a couple fingers and it'll be great. So I love that you talk about the relationship.
Yeah.
Super important. Super important. Well, your book is That Damn Analogy. It's going to be out on April 12th on Amazon, which is really exciting. And your website is ericrecker.com, ERICRECKER.com. So, Eric, if you had one more piece of advice, maybe you want to repeat something you shared, maybe something new for folks who are looking to kind of work through that burnout and make sure that they stay present and win the now, what would that be?
Just know that it's a spectrum. You are not gonna go from burned out today to perfect tomorrow. I promise you, that's not gonna happen. But ask yourself, what is one small but significant thing that I can do today to try to knock back that hold of burnout? So on my website, I actually have a 5-day knockback burnout challenge. It's free. You can sign up for it, and it gives you a few emails of concrete things you can do. And just think of how to scale that recovery. Like, I'm burned out, I don't even know what to do. Take 5 minutes. Just take 5 minutes for yourself today to unplug and breathe. And then tomorrow, do something else. If you always think I'll start something tomorrow, you're never going to start it. Take that first step today, and the mountain won't look quite as big.
There you go. Great stuff. Well, I just signed up for your Win the Now principles. So I love that. That's super awesome. Give us an opportunity to win the now right now. And take 5 minutes, friends, as you're listening to this, as you're watching this. Take 5 minutes when you're done and be present for yourself so you can win the now. Thanks so much, Eric. This was great.
Thanks.